Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick Theriot, and today I have a special new video. I'm finally going to release my response to the iOS 14 update. Wow, 2020 was an absolutely crazy year, and the CEO of Apple released a statement at the end of the year that completely shook things up for advertisers in this space. So with that being said, let's jump into it. And before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for new news around the iOS 14 update. I'm going to try to be as transparent as possible and keep you guys updated on this channel, as well as to be geared towards my clients as well for my agency. So with that being said, let's get started. So if you're new to the channel, again, my name is Nick Theriot. I'm the CEO and founder of Theriot Solutions, LLC. We're an e-com growth agency. Just in 2020 alone, we've managed over $1 million in ad spend across Facebook, Google, and YouTube. So on December 17th of 2020, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, released a statement that completely shook up the industry. We believe users should have the choice over the data that is being collected about them and how it's used. Facebook can continue to track users across apps and websites as before. App tracking transparency in iOS 14 would just require that they ask for your permission first. So now, if you're on Facebook and you click on ad to go to a website, when you land on that website, this is what's going to pop up. Allow Facebook to track your activity across other companies' apps and website. Ask app not to track or allow, which will pretty much put a wall between whether or not a advertiser can track your actions on that website. So how will this affect me? You're likely here because you're a media buyer, you're a business owner, you're a marketing manager, you're trying to get more information alongside of this iOS 14. So before we can actually dive into showing you how it will affect you, we need to understand how things work. So this is Stacy right here. Stacy is on Facebook right now, and while she's on Facebook, she's browsing and she sees a shoe ad, an ad for a pair of shoes. She clicks on it and she goes to the website for those shoes. Now, when she gets to that website, Facebook's going to send her over, and it's going to also forward over some information such as like the click ID, which is like your unique ID for that specific ad she clicked on, and also a little bit of information about her. And that's in your ad account and all that, and it forwards it over to the website as well. When she gets to the website, all that information over, like I said, is transferred over. She gets to the website, and immediately cookies are sent, is what it's called. It's downloaded onto her phone, and then also too, these cookies houses your pixel, which establishes a communication link between Facebook and those cookies, which again tracks all the activity on her phone while she's on that particular website. So this is how we get analytics and stuff inside the ads manager on Facebook or Google or Pinterest or Snapchat, etc. on the people who view the website, add to cart, purchase, etc. Now let's put this in a better example. She's on the website, she adds something to the cart, but she doesn't check out. Those cookies again sends all that information back to Facebook because we established that communication link. So those cookies sends all that information back to Facebook saying, hey, Stacy viewed X, Y, and Z products. She didn't check out, but she did add to cart. So now an advertiser can go ahead and retarget her with a, view content, add to cart campaign, excluding initiate checkouts and excluding purchases. And we can provide her some very highly targeted, personalized ads to her timeline. Now, cookies will also eventually become obsolete. As 2022, Google is predicting that there will be no more cookies in Google Chrome. And behind every website, there is a server that hosts the website, all the information on the website, and the user's information. So a lot of big tech, Facebook, Snapchat, Google, YouTube, all those are moving over to a conversions API on the server side, where it's still a pixel, it's still tracking the information, but instead of having cookies, Facebook just sends people to a browser, and the server in the background that's hosting that website is tracking all that information, and they're talking together. And then that server sends that, because of that communication link we opened up by installing that tag on the server, sends it back to Facebook. Now, not to confuse you and all that, don't want to go too techy in this. I'm trying to keep this as minimal as possible in terms of tech to get straight down to the details. How does ATT affect this? It's the big question. So now when someone gets on the website, those cookies are installed on their phone. They're still going to be installed. They're still going to track everything that person does on your website. But the problem is, when those cookies are installed and they're going to track your information, you can get a little prompt up on the website, on the app. Allow to track or do not allow. And depending on this response, while you're on your phone, on your iOS 14 phone, again, because it's just iOS 14, it's not Android, it's not desktop, it's just iOS 14 on the phone. Depending on that response, it's whether or not those cookies are going to send that data back to Facebook. So again, those cookies is the communication link. If they say do not track, those cookies are going to house that information, and that's it. You'll never be able to get access to it. There's no way to like set up any type of background thing and like, we can just set up some type of weird, system, to do it in the background process like that. No, there's nothing you can do. Like straight up. That communication link will not be able to contact Facebook, and you will not get that data. And someone makes a purchase, that will not be reported at all. Someone adds a cart, that will not be reported. Someone views your product, that will not be reported. All you'll see is a link click, because that's on Facebook side. And same thing for server side. So Facebook sends, someone to your website. They get that little prompt up saying, "Hey, allow to track." They say, "Yeah, they can track." So server will send that data back to Facebook. They say no, server will not send that information back to Facebook. And this is not just Facebook. Just to be clear, guys. This is also YouTube. This is Snapchat. This is Instagram. This is Pinterest. This is Google. This is TikTok. This is everything. All of these platforms we use, we spend money on. Google Analytics, all that stuff that loads information to track you, everything you do, and to be able to remarket to you, have some good analytics, all that stuff, that's all going to become potentially not obsolete, but it's going to be affected by this. So now, how will this affect me? That's why you're here. That's why you clicked on this, is because you want to understand how this will affect me, how this will affect my ad performance and everything. So Facebook released this helpful article just after Apple released that statement, and let's dive into it. So the first things is that we're going to have less of a retargeting pool. So right now, this might be your current retargeting pool, the amount of people you can retarget right now that went to your website, took some actions on your website. And then in the future, you're going to have a lot smaller of a retargeting pool because there will be less people in it. Now, the next thing is right now the algorithm optimizes based off the people that purchase, and the pixel sends that data back to Facebook, and the algorithm can optimize on the right type of people. This is why broad targeting works really effective. But now, after this update, there's going to be less effective broad targeting because the pixel is going to have a harder time understanding who your ideal consumer is. Now, the next thing is a conversion events per domain. So, for example, if you run a Shopify e-commerce store, you're likely going to be pretty much fine. But if you run your pixel through a ClickFunnels or some type of sales funnel where you have multiple different events, or you run a sales funnel plus you run a Shopify e-commerce store all in that one domain, you're going to have some issues because you can only optimize for 8 events. And I'll get to that in 1 second. On top of that, there's no more cross-domain tracking. So for example, if you have a domain that's like CA for Canada .theriot that's a domain. And then USA.theriot that's a domain. Or if you have, multiple different stores all using the same pixel Obviously, those are all different domains. So this is really going to affect the structure of some companies in terms of how they have their different websites set up for different countries. And it's also going to affect the people that are just trying to they have a really kick-ass store. They've optimized a lot of great data on it. And then now they want to use some of that data to get a few other stores going. So that's really going to affect those people. There's no more of this where, users can go to any one of those domains that has that shared that one pixel, and then that pixel will track them all. There's no more of that. Then also 8 events per domain, and Facebook is going to pick the 8 events that work best for your domain that they think work best. So again, if you have a lot of different events, you're gonna have to really tone those down into only like 8 ones. But this is what the standard ones look like for like your typical Shopify store. So you shouldn't have any issues. If you have these set up right here, you're going to be okay in terms of, having to cut out some events from your sales funnel. Now, reporting limitations. This is going to be the biggest one because it's going to be a lot harder to make decisions based off the data Facebook is giving us because there's going to be less data. We're going to see lower ROAS inside of the ads manager. We're going to see less purchases. We're going to see more data discrepancies, which is going to cause for you, the media buyer, you, the business owner, you, the CEO, to make decisions on how much more should we spend. What campaigns are performing the best? How can we double down? How can we spend more to maximize conversions right now? That's going to be a big issue because we won't have some of that data. We're going to see delayed reporting, estimating that we could see delayed reporting up to 3 days. And we're also going to start seeing more web conversion events that we reported based on the time the conversion occurs and not the time of the associated ad impression. Estimated results. This is a big one. So Facebook wants to kind of work with this and help us out because they're going to understand that they're going to be receiving less data. So it's going to be harder for us to make decisions on what to spend and how much more to spend and what to scale up. So they want to help us by offering statistical modeling to help out showing results and stuff for ad sets and ad levels. Statistical modeling is assuming data based off mathematical models. Next thing, there's no support for breakdowns. So right now you can break down campaigns by age, gender, region, and placement. And right now you can still do that after this update. But the problem is we won't be able to see it for the web conversions, the view content, ads cart, the checkout, the booked call, etc. And then again, there's going to be a account attribution window change. So right now it's like a up to 28-day click or view, and it's going to be limited now to a 7-day click. So that basically means that once someone clicks on your ads, one of your ads, they have up to 7 days to make a purchase for it to be attributed to your account. If not, if they make that purchase outside that 7-day window, that's it. It doesn't attribute back to Facebook. For some of you guys, you heavy rely on this because you'll see your 7-day. If you look at your data right now, your last 7 days, it's going to be pretty poor. Then you're going to look at your data between the 7 to 14-day window, and it's a lot higher than it was 7 days ago because you have a longer kind of attribution window. So this is more common with some of your higher ticket products, maybe $150 US plus, where it's a little bit more longer of a buying cycle. Now, quick overview of all the issues we're going to run into. We're going to see smaller retargeting audiences. We're going to see less conversions reported by Facebook. So there'll be less data reported inside of Facebook ads itself. We're going to see a less optimized algorithm. So poor performance, harder to go broad. We're going to have to really focus on kind of narrowing down those interests. And again, that's going to be more of a case study. We're going to have to start developing and testing to see what works best now under this new normal. Also, it's going to be a lot harder to make decisions on what's working. It's going to be a lot harder for advertising agencies to report to the CEO or the marketing manager and stuff like that of, hey, this is how much we spent. This is how much revenue we generated. And then they look at the Shopify and it's like way more. So they don't know, how much more can we spend. We're going to have to start really digging deeper into that type of things. Now, there's going to be no more conversions reported outside of a 7-day window. And again, that's a click. And use 1 domain per pixel and only 8 events per domain. Now, the big variable, because there is a big variable right here that has been presented. how many people will opt in versus opt out? Because you see, if 90% of people opt in and only 10% of people opt out, we're only going to see a very small impact. Very, very small. But if we have 90% of people opt out and only 10% of people opt in to this little tracking ATT, then that's going to be a huge issue. And we can't really predict that just yet because we haven't really experienced it yet. So we don't really know until we actually start to see the data. And it may be different per brand. So that's all going to be issues right there. But we've had this in the past, though. We've actually already experienced this type of update. I'm hoping this kind of rings some bells. If you're in the USA and only ever advertise in the USA and only have USA clientele and maybe Canada clientele, you might have never seen this before. But by now, I'm hoping you've probably seen this before. This is the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which is enforced in the EU area, the European areas. And basically what happens is when you land on someone's website, this is what pops up. We value your privacy preferences, and users can basically dictate whether or not they can be tracked or not. And this is exactly what ATT is. And there was only a small performance drop in the GDPR update compared to, well, we don't really know what ATT is going to do, but there was only a small performance drop. So does this give us a little bit of insight of what should we expect? Maybe it's not going to just, sky falling, everything's going to hit the fan. Maybe it's just a small bit of adaptation period, changing a few things in the business, and we're going to be just fine. So what can I do? What can I do to secure my foundation of my business, secure the foundation of my clients, secure the foundation of my results on Facebook, and still be profitable and still, move forward with everything? Number one, verify your domain. I just recently released a video on this. It's super easy to do, but it just helps with verifying your domain inside the Business Manager is an absolute must. You have to do this because this basically tells Facebook, here's the domain I want to use. And again, you're only allowed one domain per pixel. So here's the domain I want to use. You verify it, and Facebook holds it very credible. Server-side integration and tagging, set it up through Conversions API. Again, a lot of people are moving towards this. Cookies will become eventually obsolete. This is also showing a very, very, very high match rate and is a must. Do this now. Before you do anything else, do this now. Verify your domain, set up your server-side tagging, because this is things you can do absolutely right now. You also, too, if you do have more than 8 conversion events, again, if you own a Shopify store and just use that one Shopify store, just with that one domain, just with that one pixel, you don't need to really worry about this. But if you have like a ClickFunnels, or maybe you have multiple domains because of different language barriers, that's where you're going to really need to plan out these 8 conversion events. You also need to figure out your conversion window on a 7-day window, a 14-day window, and a 28-day window. Because if you notice that your 7-day results are always okay, but you see most of your profit between a 7 and a 14-day window after it updates, then that's going to be a factor here because you're not going to see that anymore. You're not going to see that lift in account ROAS over time. So you need to figure out what percentage drop and what ROAS you need, the new ROAS you need to hit on a day-to-day to understand what it looks like on a 7-day window and a 14 and a 28-day window. Less dynamic ads. So right now I run a lot of like catalog sales ads that are completely personalized based off what people view on the website, or just a regular straight dynamic ad that's, loading in images, loading in text. Facebook's gonna have less data now to understand what works. So it's gonna be harder to really optimize. And I have a killer case study I'm about to release on this. So I'm still gonna release it, but again, this will probably be an issue because Facebook won't be able to update it and optimize it in real time, causing it for being less effective. Start doing more list building. I literally, after every time something big like this happens, the always default answer is build more of a list. We're seeing anywhere from 30 to 50% of revenue per month for our clients, especially after they've been advertising over a year, come from their email list. So if you're not building an email list, double down on it. Focus on building up that email list. while on the side of taking all these other actions, because this is the thing that you're going to own. You're going to own all this data. You're going to own all those emails years to come. And then you always will be able to remarket back to those people. And, let's say, for example, all of your paid advertising got shut off. How can you still be able to run your business purely off just your list? More influencer marketing. Influencer marketing works great. Go to a hyper-targeted niche or hyper-targeted influencer that's specifically to your niche. Go through all their engagement. Go through all that. Make sure you're using influencers. Really helps out with bringing your ideal customers, specifically your ideal customers, to your business. More video ads. So video ads are highly effective because you can actually retarget people based off the amount of time they watched on a video. So, as I'm aware, as of now, this is still compliant with everything, and people will not, getting a little notification saying, hey, can this person track you when they're watching a video on Facebook? Because these are purely engagement audiences, and these are still compliant with everything. It's just everything that happens outside of the app. So what you can do right here is you can run a top of funnel ad. Someone doesn't click on the website, you can retarget them through the video ad. And then you can start building up a sequence of videos that all retarget each other to walk people through the sales cycle. And have a very highly profitable strategy around this. Works amazing. Start focusing on overall ROAS. How much are you spending per month? How much revenue are you getting back in Shopify? Those two numbers do not lie. The amount you spent and the amount you received in terms of Shopify revenue, those numbers do not lie. If you spent $100,000 last month and you made back $300,000 in Shopify, slowly keep raising that budget and really figuring out what specific variables are driving that as the best ability you can. Overview. iOS 14 will require permission for your companies to track their users. Less data will be captured based off the percentage of people who opt out. Less data algorithm receives equals performance drop. Less data will be reported back on campaign performance, which will make it a lot harder for advertisers, business owners to make calibrated decisions on where to spend more money at. You need to verify your domain. You need to set up server-side conversions API. Focus on overall ROAS, Shopify revenue divided by total ad spend. Focus on other strategies that you can add to your brand that don't require on reporting and stuff. So influencer marketing, community building. That's one thing I forgot to add to this. Build up a community, build up a list, build up more audiences that's free to market to on top of your advertising. I'm not saying steer completely away from paid advertising, but build up these communities and stuff like that on the side of this, so that way you can continue to prosper if any of your paid ad strategies turn off. Be up to date on trends and news around iOS 14. I'll leave you guys a few resources to learn a little bit more around this. First things first is talk to your agency / marketing consultant to further understand more about this if you have any questions. iOS 14, Facebook released a nice little statement on it. You can just go on Facebook for Business, literally just search up like iOS 14 Facebook, and the Business Help Center has plenty of information on it if you have any more questions surrounding it. Apple as well has their own kind of description on everything that's going on. If you literally search like Apple iOS 14 developer.com, you'll find all this. And as well, Ad Leaks. This is probably one of my favorite places. It's just a community of advertisers with constantly posting new news around iOS 14 and all kinds of other Facebook ad stuff. Absolutely amazing community to be a part of. And lastly, my channel on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because I'll be posting some more videos surrounding iOS 14, and obviously I already post a lot of valuable videos in terms of things you need to do to improve the results for your business. Lastly, I want to leave you guys a quote. Be adaptable, flexible, and never stop learning. The rate of change will never stop, and neither should you. Brian Reagan. Guys, be adaptable. This internet privacy thing is a real thing. It's going to be more and more and more stricter over the years. And if you don't become adaptable and you just sit here and resent change and try to fight it, you're going to go out of business. You're going to screw up campaigns and stuff. You're going to have problems. Be open to it. Be adaptable to it. Learn what you need to do to take action on. Likely, if you made it all the way to this video, you're taking those steps, and I applaud you. And if you're resenting all this, obviously it sucks. It's a kick in the butt. But at the same time, it's it's something that's happening. It's real. You have to be adaptable and figure out the best solution you can take. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions surrounding this, please drop a comment below, or you can email me, nick@theriot solutions.com. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.